Well, hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us at AFC Vacations for this great travel show. Today, our focus is going to be the spring of 2026. So tours going out even as early as January, February, and into May. So wonderful stretch. We have a lot of great specialty tours, including San Antonio, our Washington, D.C. cherry blossoms, and so much more. So excited to talk about our first portion of 2026, getting in depth on some great programs. And we've had a tremendous year so far. It's exciting to see the progress we've made with so many travelers out on the road to all different destinations, both within the U.S. as well as overseas. Really large growth in the company. We continue to strive for excellence in service, and again, a lot of diversity in our programs. So as we begin, the focus with 2026 and our spring tours has a lot to offer here. For those of you new to AFC, we have worldwide tours and cruises. That's our focal point. All different travel styles, and one of the centric points we focus on is one hotel stays. So that settles a lot of the unpacking and packing on a constant basis that a lot of tours have. We have a number of programs that stay at one property for your entire stay, and that includes our river cruises. They have 7 nights aboard great, beautiful ships that cruise up and down the major rivers of Europe. But both domestic and international with our Alpine Swiss villages focusing on one hotels. And then our standard land programs through the national parks as well as over in Europe. And now the great Discover Japan by Bullet Train, which we had so many requests on. So a lot of diversity within our programs, over 80 destinations worldwide. And then what's included with the AFC? First and foremost, round-trip airfare is shown included with the cost, and each gateway is shown, so that's highlighted primarily West Coast, but we have flights that we can coordinate from all around the U.S. So if you have friends or family members that want to join you on these trips, if they're coming from other areas that aren't mentioned in the brochure, we are happy to work with them and book their air direct to the destination to meet the group and start the tour. So please don't hesitate to invite friends and family on these great trips. We have a wonderful team of tour managers. They go all around the world. They do a wonderful job taking care of our guests, making sure the experience is wonderful, and they really go above and beyond the call of service to make sure the trip is enjoyable. We do have a couple of guarantees. One is our guaranteed departures, and that means the trip is guaranteed to operate based on a number of travelers booked already. So once we get to a guaranteed status on a trip, we'll put the symbol GD in the brochure or on the shows here, and that means that trip is ready to go out the door. As we move throughout the year, that also increases. More and more trips become guaranteed as people sign up, but it does pay to book early. Booking early, there's a lot of great savings. I'll talk about that here in just a minute. And then our guaranteed pricing. What that means is once you put your deposit down on a trip, your price is locked in. So even as surcharges come our way from our vendors, our motor coach companies, and river cruises, those don't get passed on to you. So that's what you can expect with AFC Vacations. And one of the great features that we do offer is home pickup airport service. If you're within 40 miles of your airport that you're utilizing, we pick you up at your door, take you to the airport, and bring you back at the end of the trip. And that's incorporated into the tour. Now, if you make your own way to the airport, if you use Uber, Lyft, if you share a ride with friends or family, and let us know, we'll take $100 off your final payment if you do make your own way to the airport. And some people prefer that. They like to make their own plans, but we're here to help as well. What the company really is about is real people and real service. And we've been that way since 1982, since we founded the company. And we're also part of the USTOA. That's the United States Tour Operators Association. We're a select member of about 50 tour operators nationwide that are covered under a $1 million Traveler's Assistance Program. So if for any reason the company went through insolvency, your funds are protected. Your deposits, travel insurance, final payment, those are all covered under that USTOA bond that we put down. So rest assured, being traveling with a company that's part of the USTOA, you are in good hands. We have a number of great specials and offers that we provide our guests. First and foremost are risk-free deposits. And what that means is up until 90 days prior to departure, There's no loss to you if you had to cancel, even without the travel insurance. You'd get a future travel credit for any cancellation fee, deposit, or travel insurance. Our Travelers Club is our loyalty program. And so if you book a trip with us and a second within 18 months, that second tour is automatically discounted $100 off. And each loyalty credit is valid for those 18 months. So you can use it continuously. So if you take constant trips with us within those windows, those will be available to be applied in future programs. Our Refer a Friend credit is a great way to travel with friends and family, as well getting a chance to save on your trip. And so our company started as a very small base in San Diego, and it's grown coast to coast. So if you tell your friends and family members about AFC and they take a trip with us, your next tour is $100 off once they've traveled. Also, I mentioned that early booking savings, so it does pay to book early. So up to $100 off for the first 20 clients to book on a trip, domestic or international, and up to $200 off for those 20 clients, the first 20 to book on our European river cruises and some select international programs as well. And then if you're the 21st through 40th traveler to book on a program, you can save up to $75 off. So again, book early and save money. Very easy way to do so. You'd pay your final payment by check and being in those first tiers. Getting into some wonderful programs that we have to offer. One of the earlier programs in the year is our Australia and New Zealand. And I've told people countless times how much I absolutely love New Zealand. I feel like people talk about Australia quite a bit because it's also very special, but New Zealand has a special place in my heart. It's an amazing destination, both of them really. And as we do this program, as we operate this trip, we'll start out in Sydney. And Sydney's a beautiful city right there in the harbor. So beautiful water surroundings. The Opera House, which we'll get to go in. We'll do a city tour, see the Opera House from outside as well as inside, and then work our way over to the park. And the park is a beautiful stretch right there on the water as well. We'll continue from Sydney after 3 nights up into Cairn. And that is our base for 3 nights to go out to the Great Barrier Reef. And we take a catamaran out. You have a number of different options of activities that you can do in the Great Barrier Reef area, whether it's snorkeling, doing a nature walk, or that glass bottom boat. So it gives you a lot of variety to choose from. And then we'll continue down to Melbourne. And we spend 2 nights in this amazing cultural city with some of the great museums. And it's a very modern city when it comes to architecture as well. But fantastic food scene, a great diversity of foods and cuisines. And then we fly into one of the most beautiful parts of this part of the world, and that is Queenstown, right there on Milford Sound. And so we spend 3 nights in Queenstown. We'll get a chance to cruise out on Milford Sound and see the surrounding fjords and landscape. And then we continue up to the North Island, and from there seeing Rotorua, very similar to Yellowstone with all its geysers and water features. And from Rotorua up to Auckland. Now, Auckland is an incredible harbor city as well, home of the America's Cup, the sailing race, so beautiful waters that surround it. But really the culture of New Zealand is within the Maori culture and the Maori people. Again, a big portion of Polynesian culture, but very specialized. And so we'll go to the Maori Hangi. It's a cultural ceremony that you get to learn all about their background, how they invited people into the islands, how the process worked, as well as their foods and resources. It's really an amazing opportunity to get in depth into that culture. We'll see the kiwi hatchery, those little creatures, and they're absolutely amazing there. We'll also do an optional out to the island with penguins. And so that's a really special experience to take in. But this one goes out in March. March 9th is already guaranteed. And then we also have departures in October of next year. Another beautiful trip, and really one of the things we've talked about both at AFC as well overall is just the outstanding excursions on our Normandy, Paris, and the Seine River Cruise. I don't feel like there's one excursion that falls through the cracks on this trip. We start out by flying into Paris, and then we board the Amadeus Diamond, which is a beautiful river cruise ship, and that holds about 130, 140 passengers. working our way up the Seine River. And this is both very scenic as well as some industrial components. We'll continue up to Auvers-sur-Oise, and that is where Vincent van Gogh lived his final days. So we'll get to tour some of those great sites of his last paintings, as well seeing his apartment above the Auberge Revue, the little cafe there. And then up into Rouen, and this is one of the larger cities in the Normandy region, also where Joan of Arc was burnt at the stake, but incredible history of France within Rouen. We'll see the historic cathedral, also the more modern cathedral dedicated to Joan of Arc, and have a free afternoon after our city tour to enjoy the little cafes, the great shops, the chocolate shops that are all over town, and also the Joan of Arc Museum. And then we work our way up to the coastline, and our base is generally the town of Les Havres. It's a famous port city. We'll work our way out to Étretat. This is an amazing site out on the cliffs and the coastline of Normandy, and that's pictured in the upper left-hand corner. These beautiful archways over the Atlantic Ocean, and you can see it from either side of the town. The town is right there on the beach. You can go up to either cliffside on the left or the right and get great views of these arches. And then really a highlight for most folks is the full-day historic Normandy tour, focusing on the D-Day landings during 1944 in June. So it's an awesome opportunity to learn about the war, about the Allied arrival into Europe, as the Americans, the British, the Australians, New Zealand, and so many more landed on these beaches or dropped in by parachute. We'll see Pont du Hoc, which is where the Army Rangers scaled 100-foot cliffs. And then we also take you over to Omaha Beach and the famous American landings that took place at Omaha and Utah, codenamed beaches. We go to a World War II museum and focus on some of the artifacts that still remain from the region. And then one of the most impactful experiences is going to the American cemetery there in Colville-sur-Mer. And this is where the over 9,000 servicemen are buried that took place in this campaign. So it really, really is an emotional opportunity to connect with American soldiers and a really impactful stop. The following day, we'll work our way back down the river, stop in Les Andelys, and do an optional tour out to Giverny. This is where Monet's house and gardens is located. So another connection to art as we explore France. And then we'll continue down to Paris. Our last full day is in the city of Paris, where we'll do a city tour, seeing the Eiffel Tower, the Louvre, the Arc de Triomphe, and the Champs-Élysées, the famous shopping street. We'll have a half day at leisure, so you can explore on your own or join our optional tour to Montmartre and the beautiful basilica up on the hillside. Or you can grab a glass of wine and sit out on one of the many cafes. Or if you wanted to go up the Eiffel Tower, book a ticket ahead of time and make your way up in your free time. We do a 2-night extension out to London, and that is by high-speed train. So we arrive into London by train the last morning of the main program and spend 2 nights in the city at a wonderful hotel. We get to do a city tour of London, so seeing all the famous sites, including Big Ben and the Parliament, and then include a pub dinner. And we'll have a full day at leisure, so you can see many of the museums or some of the great sites all throughout the city of London. So really wonderful program aboard a beautiful ship. Again, great food along the cruise. And we also have entertainment on board the ship every single night, whether it's trivia. Each night they have musicians. And so it's a really great opportunity to explore France and get some of the great culture as part of that trip. Now, we have a number of mystery tours that we offer each and every year. This list goes up to August, but I believe we've already published our September and October dates as well. And the first couple already have assignments with Deb Howard and Brad Wenzel on those 2 great programs. So these are 5 days in length. They go all over the U.S. with the exception of our August 9th mystery tour, and that is an international destination. Again, 5 days, 4 nights, so it's not going too far, but really great opportunity to explore. And people absolutely love these trips. They generally sell out the majority of these departures. And we send you a packet about 3 weeks prior to departure, giving you a packing list, advice how to pack, as well your departure time, what time your pickup is, And once you get to the airport, it's always fun to tell the people at the airport counter you don't know where you're going. But once you arrive at your destination, your tour manager meets you, and each step of the trip is a mystery. Now, in that packet that we send, there are tabs that say keep this closed if you want to keep it a mystery, but it does have the tour itinerary and a lot of steps on that. And then how they work when you plan these trips is you'd ask our staff on destinations that you've been to before, areas that you don't want to repeat, or areas that you're interested in going to, and they can direct you to the right date for you. But again, 5 days in length, lower cost trips of about $25.99 per person, and really wonderful experiences all around the U.S. A really beautiful destination as well is Costa Rica. And this is a wonderful 9-day trip departing February 4th. So again, early in the year. And what we'll do on this trip is flying into San Jose. That's the main airport in the central part of Costa Rica. Costa Rica is a big settling area for retirees from the U.S. A lot of English is spoken there, so it's a very comfortable destination if you're first time exploring Central America. And we work our way out up into the Paus volcano area. And it's an amazing stretch with a lot of biodiversity. So beautiful plant life as well as all sorts of different animals, whether it's parrots, monkeys, sloths, as well as crocodile. And we do a crocodile safari on this trip. We also work our way out to La Fortuna, and that's at the base of the Arenal volcano. It's a beautiful area with all sorts of thermal activity, so great spas and hot springs. And then continuing down to Monteverde, and that's where the cloud forest is located. So we do 2 nights there. And then out to the beach. As a Californian, I will always laugh looking at Hermosa Beach and Jaco, but Hermosa in Spanish means beautiful. And so it's a really gorgeous stretch of the Pacific coast and the beaches along that area. We wrap up in San Jose and finish out before flying home. So a wonderful program going out February 4th. Some of our standard programs that operate on a yearly basis. This one has one departure date, and that is March 23rd. It's a guaranteed departure. And we have Deb Howard on this program. So it's a really great chance to experience this with her. What we'll do is flying into Washington, D.C., spending 5 nights in the D.C. area, and all at one hotel. So that makes travel a lot simpler. You're not packing and unpacking all the time. We'll work our way out to Arlington National Cemetery to start and learn about our servicemen and women that are buried there, including some of the Kennedys. And then continuing on, we'll do the White House Visitor Center. We'll stop at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier at Arlington and see the changing of the guard. So that's a really unique ceremony. We'll go to Ford's Theater. You'll learn about the assassination on Abraham Lincoln. And then continue out to some of the Smithsonian Institutes. We'll visit one Smithsonian as a group, and then that afternoon you'll have time to explore any of the Smithsonians that you choose from. We'll also take you over to the Library of Congress and the Capitol Visitor Center, and so some really impactful parts of the political process getting there in Washington, D.C. One of my favorite aspects of this tour is the Illuminations Monuments Tour, and there are so many great monuments to the presidents as well as very important people in America's history in Washington, D.C., both along the Capitol Mall and the Tidal Basin. So you get a chance to see the Lincoln Memorial, Thomas Jefferson Memorial, as well as Martin Luther King, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and so many more. And this is usually in the evening. We also see the Vietnam Wall, and that's a really amazing sight, learning all about this impactful conflict. We go down south. One of my favorite stops is Mount Vernon, and that's where we learn all about George and Martha Washington's life. We'll get to see them and George Washington's gravesite right there on the river at the estate. So really amazing to see this history from the 1700s. And then we continue up north. We visit Annapolis and the U.S. Naval Academy, and we'll do a tour of Annapolis as part of that experience. So this one, again, going out March 23rd of 2026, and just a great one hotel stay. Working our way down to the south, this is our San Antonio Fiesta, and as a tour director, this is one of my favorite trips to run. one hotel as well. So 4 nights right there in San Antonio, right near the Riverwalk. And it's a wonderful stretch with all sorts of activities and great restaurants as well. We'll do a city tour of San Antonio. We take you out to the Alamo as well as the Mission San Jose. And that was the queen of the Spanish missions, one of the largest missions in all of Texas. But a highlight for a lot of folks is getting to see the Alamo up close and personal. We'll also incorporate the IMAX theater experience, so you'll get to learn about the battle before we go. And then we also see some of the different districts of town, and San Antonio has expanded quite extensively over the last 10, 15 years. So it's really amazing to see the different neighborhoods pop up. Then we'll work our way out to the hill country, and we'll go up to Fredericksburg. This is a German settled town. So in the 1800s, a lot of Germans made their way into Fredericksburg and made it their home. We'll get to see the hill country area, which is famous for wine production. So we'll do a wine tasting up there. And then we'll also stop at the National Museum of the Pacific Theater. And this focuses on the Pacific War during World War II against the Japanese. So really amazing. It's one of the most extensive World War II museums in the U.S. We also head up to Austin and the state capitol. That's where we'll take in the Lyndon B. Johnson Presidential Library. We'll also work our way through the city and on the University of Texas campus. So it's really amazing to see that beautiful facility. And then coming back down in San Antonio, we do a welcome and a farewell dinner on this trip, as well as each of our breakfasts are included throughout each of our programs. Another very popular tour that we offer is our Savannah and Charleston trip. I've had so many guests come to me and say, this was a great trip. I did this multiple years ago, and we want to go again because they enjoyed it so much. So we have departures March 20th, April 24th, and October 23rd. April 24th is already guaranteed. And what we'll do, this is a great opportunity to go at that time as you work your way into the summer months. It gets hot and humid, so we focus on the external parts of that, so spring and fall. We work our way into Charleston, and it's a beautiful city named after King Charles. We stay 2 nights there, and we visit Middleton Place, which is one of the homes of one of the signers of the Declaration of Independence. We continue down into Beaufort, South Carolina, and that's where we do a carriage tour, a horse-drawn carriage tour of the waterfront, as well as some of these beautiful homes in South Carolina. And it's such a quaint little community there in Beaufort. Into Savannah, and Savannah is an incredible southern city in Georgia. We spend 2 nights in Savannah, getting to see some beautiful mansions, and then we also work our way out to the Riverwalk, which is pictured in the upper right. There's some great little restaurants and shops. We'll learn about the cotton trade, some of the slavery that took place in the Savannah area. And then we wind our way down to Jekyll Island. And this is a highlight for a lot of folks, getting to stay at the Jekyll Island Club and Resort for 2 nights. A beautiful property, amazing resort with all sorts of amenities, and really great history to the island as well. And we'll see that on our city tour or island tour of Jekyll Island. So some of the beautiful mansions of the rich and famous. And then we also work our way out to the St. Simon's Island as part of the Georgia Gulf Islands. And it's a really beautiful stretch with white sand beaches, a beautiful little church called Christ Church, and a fantastic lighthouse out there as well. It's a wonderful program that starts in Charleston, flies out of Jacksonville. And this is 7 days with 9 meals included. Getting into our international programs, these are land tours by motor coach, and we work our way out into the city of Florence. We start by flying into Florence, where we spend multiple nights. We actually work our way first to the Tuscan hillside. And one of the primary focuses is going out to the hillside, to the countryside, and away from the popular spots, so it's much quieter out there. As we explore the surrounding areas, we work your way into Europe in a much more calm setting. We'll start with our first full day, including a cooking class. So not too overexerting. You get a chance to make some pasta, learn about the foods and the wines of Italy, and the sauces that make these pastas really pop. So we do a wine tasting as part of this. They have all sorts of appetizers with salamis, meats, cheeses, and great lunch as part of that as well. We'll continue out to the city of Siena, and Siena is home of the Il Palio horse race. It's a beautiful city up on the hillside and built at a slant. So the main city square is where they have the horse race each summer, and it's a battle between the neighborhoods. We also continue over to San Gimignano, and it's pictured in the upper left-hand corner. It's a beautiful city with all these major towers and a really incredible history to this area, learning all about the wealth as well as the conflict between each of these communities throughout Italy in the 1700s and before. Then we head down south. We work our way into the Umbria region and visit Lake Trasimeno, pictured in the upper right. And we go out to the little island of Isola Maggiore, have a wonderful lakeside lunch, and then from there, continue up into Florence. We spend our last 2 nights in the city of Florence on the south end of town, and we'll do a city tour focusing on Michelangelo. We'll see the David in the Accademia Gallery, and then we also work our way over to the Ponte Vecchio, the Old Bridge, as well as the Duomo, the main cathedral. So it's a great combination of food as well as history and culture, a really amazing tour to experience, and we get a chance to see a lot as we travel around Italy. We also have a 3-night extension available down to Rome, and you can go down and see some of the highlights of that beautiful city. We also incorporate a tour of the Vatican and the Vatican Museum, and we finish with a walking tour through the Basilica of St. Peter. So really incredible history and religious symbolism within that. A newer program for us is our Classical Italy, and this combines some of the highlight cities of Italy itself. So rather than focusing on regional specifics, this one hits 3 of the major highlights. We'll start out by flying into Rome and do a walking city tour with walking throughout. We'll do St. Peter's Basilica and the Vatican there. And then we'll stop on our way up to Tuscany in Assisi, and that's where we learn all about St. Francis of Assisi. We'll see the 2 basilicas, the upper and lower portion, and learn about the Umbria region. Then we make our way into Tuscany, and generally our hotel is in Montecatini Terme. That's a beautiful spa town with a hot spring that comes down from the upper portion of the city. And so there's all sorts of great spas within Montecatini. From there, we take the train over into Florence. We'll get to see a city tour of Florence and walk through some of the highlights, including the Duomo. And then we also work our way out from there to Pisa and Lucca. Most famous is the Leaning Tower of Pisa. We'll get a chance to explore the town and the Piazza Miracoli, which is the famous Square of Miracles with the Leaning Tower and the Basilica. And then from there over to a small, quaint, beautiful town called Lucca. And that is surrounded by a medieval wall and incredible views all throughout as you drive through the valleys of Tuscany. We continue on down into the north, actually, and that's where we visit Venice. And from our Venice walking tour on the way to Venice, we stop in Verona. We'll do a walking tour of Verona and get to see an amazing Colosseum dated to around the same time of the Roman Colosseum. Then we head over to Juliet's balcony, and you'll learn the story of the Romeo and Juliet from the reality perspectives. Beautiful little statue there as well. And then into Venice for our last 2 nights. We'll stay in Venice Mestre, which is the mainland, and then visit Venice by water as well, getting a chance to go out on a Venice gondola cruise. And so the gondoliers take you out on the water through the Grand Canal. We'll do that walking tour with St. Mark's Square. You'll also get a chance to see the Doge Palace, Doge or Duke, and a great Roman feast to start the program. Wonderful Tuscan farmhouse dinner incorporated in the Tuscany region, and then a great farewell dinner as well. This one goes out March 10th, April 14th, and into the fall. Another tour that focuses on a specific region of Italy is down to the south in the Amalfi Coast. And this is a really great program running in April for the spring, and then September, October, and November in the fall. But being that it's further south into the Mediterranean, the climate's still beautiful in the fall. We'll start out by flying into Rome, we'll work our way down into the Sorrento area and get a chance to stay 5 nights in that stretch. And that's where we'll visit a number of the beautiful towns along the Riviera itself, down into the town of Amalfi and Ravello. We do a cheese tasting, and we also do an optional trip out to the Isle of Capri, which is just stunning. We don't incorporate a visit to the caves underneath Capri, but there are options. There's an availability to go there if the weather's good. You can always split off from the group and go under the island itself, which is just amazing. We do a limoncello demonstration and tasting, so you get to try some of the great lemon flavors of southern Italy. So many great citrus fruits that are growing along the coastline with that beautiful weather. And then also a wonderful walking tour of Sorrento. We do a stop in Pompeii on this trip as well. So learning about Pompeii, Herculaneum, and Mount Vesuvius that erupted back many centuries ago. Our Discover Japan by Bullet Train is our newest program, one of our newest programs. And this trip starts in Tokyo. So really fantastic hub, getting to work our way around Tokyo on a city tour. Also a lot of great culinary experiences on this trip with a sushi experience. We'll take you to a geisha show. We'll do a tea ceremony, and that's a really big part of the Japanese culture. And then on our city tour, we also see the Imperial Palace. And this is an amazing stretch. We'll work our way through the palace with a local guide. We take you to a local market, and then we take a high-speed bullet train from Tokyo down to Kyoto. And we do multiple nights in Kyoto. From there, we'll also see the Lake Ashi area. We'll go out on a cruise and do the Hakone ropeway. And that's kind of almost a gondola across over to one of the peaks. We see Mount Fuji on this trip as well. And then over into Osaka. We stop in Hiroshima as well. And that's where we get to learn all about World War II and the impact of the atomic bomb. So this one goes a little bit later into the spring in May, and then October and November departures. One of our most popular trips is our Treasures of Ireland tour. And I've got to say, getting out to the west coast of Ireland and spending the majority of time out on the west coast is really a highlight. We start out by flying into Dublin. We'll spend 2 nights on arrival and do a city tour with the Book of Kells, as well, getting to see some of the great neighborhoods. We do a whiskey tour and tasting, as well as a stop at the Guinness factory. And that's a really great place to learn how to pour Guinness. It is a little more complex than some of the other beers, but you get a chance to try that for yourself. And some of the freshest beer in the world comes from that Guinness storehouse, and that Guinness in Ireland tastes totally different. So it's really amazing. We work our way out to the west coast and stop in Limerick, and that is known as the area of Angela's Ashes. So if you've ever read that book, it's a great city, great town to explore. We spend 2 nights there as we venture out to the Cliffs of Moher and the city of Galway. The cliffs, some of the most beautiful landscape of the west coast of Ireland out to the Atlantic coast. And then Galway is an incredible university town, very lively, all sorts of fantastic pubs, and get some time to explore with our local guide there. We head down to Killarney, and that's our base or our hub for the visit to the Ring of Kerry. And this beautiful peninsula that juts out into the Atlantic. We'll do a loop tour going through the national park as well. And we also take the jaunting cart. And that's where a local takes us out through the national park of Killarney. We get to see some of the great homes there, including the Muckross House. And then we work our way back to Dublin for our final nights. We also incorporate a visit to Blarney Castle on this program. So heading out March 10th and April 21st. March 10th means you'll be there for St. Paddy's Day. And then we also provide a 2-night extension to Belfast. And that's a great opportunity to explore the north. Iceland is a destination that continues to surprise me. I've always known about the waterfalls, the landscape, and the external parts of the island. But getting to see Reykjavik was a highlight for me. It really impressed. I had zero expectations, but they have a great downtown area with some fantastic restaurants, fun bars if you're into having a drink. And then we work our way out from Reykjavik as a one hotel stay. We get to see the city. We'll do a city tour. And we also incorporate the National Museum in Iceland. A big highlight for folks is the Blue Lagoon. So we take you out. You have admission to the Blue Lagoon and can soak there for a bit. Also put that mud face mask on. It's quite interesting and entertaining. And then we continue on a tour of the island on the southern portion, so the south coast. And that's where we get to see Skagafoss, which is a beautiful waterfall. Gullfoss, another incredible stretch. As well, we do an optional whale watching tour. So really great program. 7 days, 5 nights at one hotel. So the first day is an overnight flight into Iceland. A couple of the river cruises that still have space. I mentioned the Normandy program that's got a little bit more space with about 15 or 20 cabins available. Holland Windmills, Waterways, and Tulips on April 13th. Last time we checked, had 2 cabins remaining. So if you did want to do this program for 2026, don't wait. Both dates are filling up quickly. April 20th has a little bit more space, and that's also crossing over King's Day. It's a national holiday that happens on the 28th of April, I believe. So it's a big party in the city. It's really interesting to see if you've never been there for it. But Amsterdam's an incredible place to explore. We spend our first night in Amsterdam, and then we'll work our way by river cruise on the beautiful Amadeus Amara. Both fantastic staff. They're catered to all your needs. As well, wonderful food on board the ship. And then the experience also includes free Wi-Fi on board, as well as beer, wine, and soft drinks at dinner. We continue from Amsterdam out along through the central part of the Netherlands to Middelburg, with a beautiful downtown area and some historic buildings there, over into Belgium. And that's where we get to see Bruges. Bruges is one of my favorite European cities. It's also built on canals, so it's called the Venice of the North. And that's also where they have all sorts of great shops for Belgian chocolate, Belgian waffles, French fries, as well as Belgian beer. We do an optional to Ghent, and that's famous for the Ghent altar piece, a 13-piece segment that was at the altar in Ghent at the beautiful cathedral, stolen over 13 times, including by the Nazis in World War II, and returned intact. We'll see the town of Antwerp, as well as take you out to Kinderdijk and learn all about the windmills and the waterways of the Netherlands and how they're managed, how the flow of water is managed so that they don't flood the fields, especially during those storms. And then Keukenhof. This is the highlight for a lot of folks, getting out to the flower gardens of Europe with over 7 million tulip bulbs planted each year. So we focus on the middle of April because that's when the tulips are generally at their peak. And it's just such a beautiful array of colors as you experience this area. But again, April 13th, limited on cabin space, only 1 or 2 cabins left. April 20th still has a handful, and these are going quickly. Another fantastic experience is our Kenya Safari. March 5th is already guaranteed, as is October 29th and November 5th. I don't think I put that in to the show, but both of those departures in the fall are guaranteed as well. This trip flies into Nairobi. I get a chance to lead the October 29th departure of this. It is such a big and popular trip for folks. We've seen a huge growth in this as people check this off their bucket lists, getting to see the Big Five, the famous animals throughout Kenya, and the incredible national parks and reserves all throughout this country. So we fly into Nairobi. We spend our first night there. We use a Fairmont property as well as another right there in the city of Nairobi, and it's a really interesting area with all sorts of fun experiences throughout. We head down to Amboseli National Park, and this is highlighted by the elephant herds. So one of the largest herds of elephants on the planet are based there in Amboseli, and we stay 2 nights. We use some fantastic lodge properties out in the open. Again, we say don't feed the monkeys or don't bring fruits back to your lodge or your cabin because the animals are all over the place, but it's a really great experience to be up close with these animals in a safe environment. Also, we get a chance to see the Giraffe Center. They're just south of Nairobi, and that's where they have a platform that's at the level of the giraffes' heads. And so they peek in and lick and kiss people, and it's quite a funny experience. But one of those once-in-a-lifetime things you'll never forget. Also, with the passing of Jane Goodall, it's a really impactful visit to stop at the Jane Goodall Chimpanzee Center. So really amazing woman, amazing tradition of preservation, and get to learn all about how these chimpanzees are being returned to full health and sent back into the wild to continue their lives. We'll work our way down to Samburu National Reserve. That's to the north, and we spend 2 nights in the reserve, getting a chance to see some of the most famous animals throughout this stretch. And then a big highlight for folks is the Masai Mara. This is part of the Great Migration that takes place. So this is a large conglomeration of animals, different species, whether it's zebras, buffalo, water buffalo, all sorts of different animals throughout there. We'll see the Karen Blixen home. She was a writer who settled into the southern Nairobi area, one of the largest estates, and tried to cultivate coffee plantations. Didn't work, unfortunately, but an incredible story that goes along with that. And then also a stop in Sweetwater's Game Reserve. So we'll see Mount Kilimanjaro on this tour, and it's a really impressive way to see these animals in person in a safe vehicle. For our show specials today, if you do book a new 2026 tour or European river cruise by Friday, November 6th, we reduce the deposit if you purchase travel insurance along with it to $250 for any of our trips. So it's a really great value there. Putting less money down up front. Final payment is due 90 days ahead of departure, and we'll keep you up to date on when those payments come about. But holding your space on these programs for $250 as well with that low risk deposit. Really, really great way to hold your tour space. Our 1 cabin category upgrade is available on our 2026 river cruises. So you can save $200 to $400 per person on these cruises, booking the lower category and being automatically upgraded to the category above it. Use the code SPRING26 by next Friday, the 6th, for those to apply. And how to book? You can reach Joe, Holly, April, or Samantha at Joe, Holly, April, or Samantha at afctours.com. You can reach us on our website, afcvacations.com, and check through our numerous tours. I only focused on a handful today. Then call us at 1-800-369-3693 and talk to any of our reservations team. They'll help you out and make sure you're set up for success. So really hope you enjoyed the show today. And from all of us at AFC, thank you so much for attending. Thanks for traveling with us, and we look forward to seeing you on the road.